It is a little cold and wet here in North Carolina, but we are not going to let that stop us from talking about the types of books that you should be investing in right now. Stay tuned. Before we get into this video, I want to encourage you all to check out the sponsor of this video, comicspriceguide.com. This is a resource that I have used consistently for the last several years to help me to figure out how much I should actually be paying for a comic. It is impossible to buy a comic smartly without referencing a pricing guide. And comicspriceguide.com has the largest database around of over 1 million comics. Check them out today using the link in the description. Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. This video is all about where and how you potentially want to invest for the future. And I wanted to create this video because I've been having a lot of conversations with people as of late about where they should be investing their money, especially with the economy being where it is. Here's the thing, without a doubt, if you have the ability to buy blue chip comics, you should absolutely do it because there are some bargains out there to be had. And I am specifically talking about books like Amazing Fantasy 15, Incredible Hulk issue number 1, Superman number 1, Batman number 1, Fantastic Four issue number 1. The list goes on and on of these blue chip comics that have historically retained their value and had value that increases over time. But I recognize that not everyone is in a position to be able to buy those books. I absolutely get it. That doesn't mean that there are not opportunities out there for you. And in my mind, one of the things that you should be thinking about is how can you invest in blue chip like comics? If you think about some of these blue chip books, they have some things in common. One of the things that they have in common is the first appearance of characters. First appearance of characters, generally speaking, is a good way to go versus like a death or something like that, or even like an origin, to be honest with you. First appearances typically have good value, but it's not any first appearance. It is the first appearance of a character or characters that people actually care about. It is a fan base that you want to invest into. If you buy the first appearance of a character that has a fan base, as that fan base grows and as that fan base gets more disposable income, they're going to be looking to buy the first appearance of that character that they really love. If you think about these books that I just mentioned, Amazing Fantasy 15, Incredible Hulk number 1, Fantastic Four issue number 1, Superman number 1, all of these books have massive fan bases that have grown over time, and it is that fan base that continues to drive the value of that first appearance upward. And so if you can find books now that don't necessarily have massive values right now, but have a fan base that is engaged, that book could have some potential. And if you really take a moment and think about it, there are books and there are characters right now that you can be picking up for a bargain. Maybe not necessarily super cheap, but you can get them for a bargain, and over time that bargain actually grows and that value increases. Another really important thing to think about when you are thinking about buying a book for the purpose of investment is you have to ask yourself whether the publisher is actively investing in that character or that team. If they are doing crossover events with that character, that means that they're investing in that character. If they are releasing new titles with that character, that is also a very good sign that they are invested into that character. As they release new titles, as they have these crossover events, that means that more and more people will be exposed to that character, which means that that fan base will grow over time, which means, again, that's what you're going to be tapping into the future. Another question is, are there other organizations that are investing in that character? Are there movies and TV shows that are being made? Are there any manufacturers that are creating toys or other types of collectibles or merchandise featuring that character? Again, That is an investment that a manufacturer is making in that character, in that intellectual property, which means that they are growing that fan base. That fan base potentially will come back and look for that source material. And it doesn't matter, again, whether it is some kind of toy or collectible, or even if it's potentially an NFT. That is like the new thing that is going on right now. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand it, but you have to pay attention to those other adjacent markets because they might actually influence the original IP at some point down the line. One of the other questions that I get from people a lot is whether they should invest in raw or graded books. And to some degree or another, the answer is yes, right? It really depends upon your experience level and how much money you have for the purpose of investment. There is a certain amount of safety that comes from getting a graded book because a third-party company has already verified the authenticity of that book. They have already evaluated it and they have placed a label on it to say that it is, a complete book or an incomplete book, and they've given it a grade. That grade corresponds to a pricing guide, which gives you, again, some certainty as to what you are buying and how much you should pay. If you have, some experience, then potentially you can buy a raw book and you can evaluate some of those things for yourself. You can evaluate whether that book has color touch. You can evaluate whether it is missing pages. If it's incomplete, you can evaluate the overall condition. And once you do that, I call it a dirty grade, you have the ability to figure out how much that book potentially is worth. A lot of it depends upon, again, your budget and your experience level. If you want to buy raw books, buy raw books. If you want to buy graded, buy them. In my mind, potentially you want to try to buy the best book that you can afford. When it comes to raw books, try to get one that has great condition. Try to get one that doesn't have rusty staples or incomplete pages unless that is what your budget can afford. When it comes to graded books, try to get the best grade that you can possibly get. And in my mind, the newer the book, the higher the grade should be. Part of the reason for this is that as values increase, it typically is the books at the higher end of the grading spectrum or the condition spectrum, however you want to look at it, that is going to see the biggest uptick in value. Now, buying lower graded books allow you to have a smaller investment and thus less risk. I get that. But again, if you're trying to do this for money, you might get a better return on the higher grade versus the lower grade. Without a doubt, I firmly believe that there are a lot of opportunities right now as it exists with comics. The economy, generally speaking, isn't in a great place and it has the potential to actually get worse. At the end of the day, we really won't know where the bottom is. And there's a lot of people that will say, wait, don't buy right now, wait for the bottom. You don't know where the bottom is until you start to recover. And when you start to recover, will you be able to perfectly time it at the very bottom? Probably not, because the data that we get for the hobby is always in hindsight. You are always getting data days or even weeks after the fact. So you can't know where the bottom is until you've already reached it and started to recover. But there are opportunities out there right now, and potentially those people that will make the most money later are the people that are buying right now. But you have to do so smartly. With that said, I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I definitely want to encourage you to sound off in the comment section. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, I definitely want to invite you to do that right now. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.